Hey everyone. This is Misty Cool. No, I'm not Misty Coolidge. This is Kim Chapman. We have Misty Coolidge with us and the one and only Christina Slocum with her head down. Her head is down. Um, from Purple Orchid Wedding Planning and also the Venue Van. And also, don't you have a bar service?
Studio
Yeah,
bar.
studio bar.
Studio bar. So she does it all, a lot
Yeah.
like Misty.
Yeah,
So,
so primarily Kim's a photographer. I'm a wedding venue owner, so just coming from the perspectives, if you're seeing this for the first time, like where we're coming from in the industry. I have a venue, I'm a planner, I'm an officiant, I have a bar service, so I've got all of the things too. But we want to bring in different vendors from different parts of the industry, kind of hear their story, why they're here, what they do, why people should choose them, what makes them different, maybe talk about different tips and tricks and things like that. So we have Christina here with us today. Super excited to have you, girlfriend. Got to hang out with you yesterday at the main wedding education day, which was amazing. But to kick things off, why don't you introduce yourself and what do you do?
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you, ladies. So my name is Christina Slocum. I started Purple Orchid Weddings and Events back in 2010, always being in the industry. And then I think oftentimes you hear wedding planners are a bride themselves. And wow, that was really fun and
that happens in
exciting and
my industry
emotional.
too.
Is that how you what?
That happens in my industry too.
Yeah.
A lot of my brides become photographers.
Well, also, I think photography is interesting too because everyone has those beautiful iPhones now, right? So everyone's a photographer.
Everyone.
Everyone can be a planner too. No, so always in the industry, hotel, restaurant background, catering background,
See, I
working
didn't
for
know that.
yeah, yeah. That's why so sometimes when, the going gets going, you could see me plating meals if I had to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same with
With
me.
that attention to detail. So that is where, yeah, so I was a bride and I did not have a planner and I did not have a day of wedding coordinator. And I was frazzled to the point of ready for everyone to leave. And that was just not the feeling any bride or couple should have. So that's kind of
Yeah.
the why. And then when I realized I never want anyone feeling the way I did on my wedding day, Purple Orchid was introduced.
Where'd you come
Yeah.
up with the name Purple Orchid? Does it have significance?
It does. My husband would love to bring me home purple orchids. And so for us, it was like really just kind of love and it was when I had my baby, it was when we'd get into a fight, it was when he just wanted to take me out to dinner for a date night. So and then it just and I love the color I love the color purple. It's rich and moody and can be so many different feelings. So that's the name. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, I love how people get their names. I think that's really exciting. No, nobody asks that question anymore, and I think that's really
Yeah.
cool. I'm that weird person that asks the weird questions.
No, I love that question. I will say I get mistaken for a florist often.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
awesome.
it used to be Purple Orchid Planning, and then that we had to throw weddings and events in there just so maybe people understood that we weren't floral designers.
hmm
Yeah.
Why do people need to hire a planner? Like, get into the nitty gritty.
Get into the
Yeah,
weeds.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think it feels nice. It's really nice to have someone in their corner and supporting them and asking all the questions that or being told what they don't know. We get it all the time. I don't know what I don't know. I
They don't
don't
know a lot
suffer
of the
from
little
space.
things.
Yeah, yeah. They just it's the most emotional event they'll ever plan, and it's
True.
exciting and it's new and they've never done it before. And so where do they start?
Yeah.
And to have someone, I know a lot of the younger generations don't love getting on a call, but it's important. Do you vibe? Or is this someone that you want to spend an entire year with and the entire day on your,
Mhm.
the biggest party of your life, the biggest emotional day that you've had thus far? So getting on the call and just feeling like, can this be a match? And
Yeah,
helping you
If
through
someone
those
hi
emotions.
Sorry, Misty, I have all these
okay.
questions.
Yeah, no,
If someone
go.
does hire you, what is the first thing that they need to choose? What is the first thing
Yeah.
decision they need to make?
So as uncomfortable as budgets are to talk about, even in my own family, with my children, with my friends, it is the number one.
Yeah.
So as we know, in the wedding industry, we have, you could have a $20,000 wedding, which is a lot of money, or you could have a $2 million wedding, which is a lot of money. And it doesn't matter. The $20,000 wedding and the $2 million wedding, there's still budgets. Where is that money being allocated? What's important? What are the five
Mhm.
senses that you want to feel when it's your wedding day? And so that is after we understand that we want to work together and that we're a great fit, that uncomfortable budget conversation is number one.
Mhm.
Allocating what money goes where can you maybe not spend as much but get as much bang for your buck, and where can you really go a little bit more extravagant, because that's what is most important.
Do you find they end up changing their budget a little or increasing their budget sometimes
Yeah,
or
there's
no?
always a little bit of a rainy day fund, I do believe, and then also throughout the planning. Not often. I mean, not always, but often, all of a sudden a family member, a parent, a grandparent, an aunt, uncle will say, "Hey, we'd love to pay for your photography. You know what? Can we gift you that? And then maybe we can allocate that money somewhere else."
I think with pricing too, it's a lot of education because a lot of couples don't know what they're looking at. Like, what's a average price
They
for
don't
this
know.
vendor?
Yeah.
If is this $800 person, great, or do I need to spend $6,000? Like, I think there's a lot of like explaining like what you get for your money and why do you want to invest a little bit more to get a little bit higher quality, a professional, and not run a Bose speaker. Like
Yeah,
there's a lot of that conversation and the experience. Speaking, being a planner for 16 years, like
absolutely.
I have to educate my couples, which I think that they look forward to. They need to learn.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
part of our job is to educate.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think too, when it comes to budget, especially where, my wedding 15 years ago is not the wedding I would have today. I couldn't afford the wedding I had 15 years ago, today. And so with the increase of pricing, our team, we see quotes every day and I still get sticker shock at things. And so you have a couple that's just, usually our couples are, early 30s professionals. They either own homes or getting into their first condo or something. So again, they're not naive to what things cost. They have bills and they have budgets at home, but seeing just where do they align in what they're trying to accomplish in their
Mhm.
wedding weekend.
And a lot of times it's lopsided. I've been the photographer where they've paid quite a bit of money and it was a backyard wedding with potato
Yeah,
salad and
yeah,
they want
absolutely,
photography
because
but they
that's
didn't care about music or anything else.
right. And that's the conversation. That's the first conversation when we're talking about budget. What is important? And so oftentimes we'll hear those heirloom photos. I want to capture all the moments and I want to be able to, lay them in my house and look at them and go through photographs and go through albums and remember grandpa. And, so for some and then we know that the photography budget is going to be a little bit higher.
Hmm.
For some, it's the venue. They want these rolling gardens and these manicured lawns. And okay, well, you're going to pay a higher price versus being in the dairy barn. Like that's just how it's going to go.
Hmm.
So have
You're gonna
those
pay 10,000
conversations.
more for the ocean
Yep,
or the lake.
absolutely minimum,
But
right?
some
And
people want
again,
Yeah.
that and then they're going to have an iPad wedding or whatever, iPod or whatever.
yeah, I
iPod.
mean, but again, if that's what's important, those pictures on the ocean, but then they're streaming, I don't know, Michael Bublé in the back. Like, okay, that's you do you,
Whatever they
boo.
want, whatever they want.
Yep.
There are
I
no
do that all the
rules.
time. You do you, boo.
Yeah. Hey, and again, I say it to my clients, this is not my wedding. I've been happily married for as long as I have, and this is about you. And so, how can I help you accomplish your weekend?
Right. What
Yeah.
about hours? Let's talk about hours. Like, what do you expect? What's a typical planner put in for hours for their couples?
Yeah, great question. Um, and it's maybe one of those things in 15 years, I've almost been scared to do the math.
Yeah, I know.
Because like,
It's 24 hours for photography, including administrative work and driving.
okay, so
Mhm.
driving, the intakes, the conversations, the
Editing.
editing, how long does editing take?
Just as much as you're shooting the wedding, maybe a little
Yeah.
less.
Yeah, I think people forget about that in photography a little bit, don't you think, Kim?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All the
That's
all
why we're
the
here. That's why we're
Yeah,
here.
yeah. I was sitting next to a photographer friend one time when she was editing and literally going from the top left corner slow all the way down. And then and
One
she
by
goes, what do
one.
you see in this photo? I'm like, I see a cute family. And she's like, do you see the, the little girl picking at her dress? I'm like, nope, didn't even notice that, So even these little things to just
Yeah,
edit and make perfect.
that's interesting.
How many hours? It depends. So our company, unlike some planning companies, we do offer 3 different services. We try to meet the client to where they are in their planning process. So a full service couple that we work with from start to finish, soup to nuts. Um, we're working with them anywhere from 12 to 16 months before their wedding.
Yeah.
A lot of pre-planning within the month, and then every month we have a monthly check-in call. It includes a lot of, more than one site visit, meeting with them at the rental place, going over linen swatches with them and table decor. So there's a lot of driving, meeting, site visits, behind the scenes stuff. And then
Yeah.
our day of wedding coordination, we have 3 phone calls with them. We get a vibe for what they need and want. We take all their information. We make sure that it works, makes sense, T's are crossed, I's are dotted. And you have 2 coordinators on the day of their wedding. We're there for their ceremony rehearsal. So again, the hours are a little bit different, but still just as important of a service.
Yeah. Yeah. And what about hours in the day of, like, for personally, like I'm there usually 3 or 4 hours before the ceremony, depending on what they have for rentals. And then I'm there until the DJ breaks down.
Yeah, no.
What's your vibe?
And we find that, and that's where too, right? Education. We all as planners do things a little bit different. What
Yeah.
makes you and your company tick is a little bit different than what makes me and my company tick.
Yeah.
We are, what we say is we're the first vendors to arrive and we're the last ones to leave.
Yeah.
We don't always check in rentals, but for some of our clients and some of our packages, we're there on Thursday checking in rentals. We're there Friday for an hour or 2 for their rehearsal. And then Saturday, typically 9-10 is when we start to show up. And then we're there till 11 or 12 at night.
And that's awesome of you. And being a venue owner as well, I often see if I've got a planner that comes in, that they didn't hire me, and that's fine. Some, like one of my brides this year, chose not, even though I am included in my venue and they're not paying for me, they chose to hire a different planner, which is totally fine.
Yep.
So I'm just going to be the venue person there. But I see often there'll be people at other weddings that venues, the planners are gone at 8 o'clock. I'm like, well, wait a minute.
I know.
I don't understand how that can happen, because like the most important part of the night is the end of the night. You're dealing with people that are drinking
Yeah.
obtrusive amounts of alcohol. You got a
That
DJ
is
that's
truly when
working.
shit hits the fan.
It
And
is.
I have to, honestly, 100%, we didn't start out that way. We learn every day. Still, our team is learning. We're learning from other vendors. We're learning from our clients. We're learning from experience more often than not. And that is when we would leave. All the special events had happened. They were dancing. What do they need us for? The catering team is maybe the one cleaning up. And that was about a year. And we were like, we'd get the calls. We'd get the frantic calls from the venue owners or the bus drivers, I was like, okay, nope, that can't happen.
No, same.
We need to make sure everyone's safe, that the teams are cleaned up, the venue looks like it is supposed to. And again, that's when shit really hits the fan. We found, we have had people missing because they get drunk and wander into the woods. And I mean, you can't,
I don't mean
you, like,
Yeah.
wow.
I'm in bed already. Sorry. I'll let me check on him tomorrow. Like, that's not the answer, right? So
No, and then also like keep an
Wow.
eye, like we also want to protect our clients. Like if somebody's stumbling out of my venue, I'm going to be like, whoa,
yep,
like rein him back
absolutely.
in. Who's driving you home? Can
Yep.
somebody walk you to the house next door? Because I don't want you
Yeah.
falling in the woods and hurting yourselves.
Yeah.
Like those are the little details that people don't think about when they don't hire a planner, is that all of these little things, like or like my favorite is I'll have my best friend or my mom or my aunt. I'm like, oh, girlfriend. Like if you have any of those people run your day, they will
I know.
hate you after your
Yeah.
wedding, because
Yeah.
literally I run from noon to midnight, like literally. A couple years ago, I had a couple adamant, didn't need a planner. Nope, I've got 60 people. I'm good. I don't need a person. So what I did, I was like, okay, I'm going to send her 3 pages single spaced of all the things I'm going to do for you for your day. You need to delegate all of this to somebody.
Yeah.
The mom called me. Yep, nope.
Nope, not happening. Not gonna be paid.
I mean, literally, they don't think of all the things they do while they're doing all of the joy. Like, we're behind the scenes. We're keeping an eye on vendors. We're keeping an eye on the flow. We're keeping an eye on dead flowers. We're
Yeah.
making sure there's no grapes rolling off the appetizer table on the floor that people's going to step on and get into our beautiful carpet. Like,
Yeah.
all of these little details that we take care of as planners. It's amazing the things that
Well,
we
and
do.
I tell people all the time, I said, you're not hiring our team to check off the check boxes. Okay, first dance, and okay, Uncle, Joe's gonna
That's
do a
easy.
toast. Like, that's not what you're hiring for. When you're talking to planners, get their juicy. What did they do? What did they do? And they pretty much, I say, built a house in a day. When things did not go accordingly, how did they handle it? Like, what did they do under pressure?
Yeah.
What are they seeing? There's attention to details, the grapes rolling off the table, the glasses breaking on the dance floor. Like, how do you handle all those pieces? And I say to couples, again, at minimum a day of wedding coordinator, I applaud you, because mom doesn't want to really work your wedding. You don't want to work your wedding.
No, they no.
Um,
Yeah.
And cousin Joyce doesn't know what to do. So
Yeah.
You know why Dave loves planners? My husband's a DJ at weddings, in case you didn't know that.
we love
At the
Dave.
end of the
Oh,
night,
Dave.
we love Dave. At the end of the night, the planner turns the lights on, because if no one's there to turn the lights on, he gets hounded. One more song, and they're all drunk.
Don't make it
leaning over his
end. Don't
table.
stop.
Don't stop. And
Don't
if there's
stop
no
the
planner,
feeling.
and there
I
are
usually wait like 10 minutes. Like, I don't want to do the last song and like, come on. Like, I think that's rude.
well, no, but he'll
Um,
do the last
yeah,
song a
like
little bit
10
before.
10 minutes
Yeah.
later,
We dim them
get
up a little bit. Slow.
yes.
Yeah, not like high school.
Exactly. Get out.
The
No, that's
fluorescents
not.
go on.
Tough when people are drinking. I mean, they're having a blast, as they should, but that's another thing that's tough for him in venues that don't have planners.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and
The
then
other
also,
thing, end of the night, is interesting too, because I learned in my hospitality days at a very young age, you do not blow out candles and you do not move those florals. So the whole entire table can be
stay.
can be cleaned and ready to go at the end of the night, but everything still looks as pretty and put together as it's supposed to until
I
those
agree.
go completely up.
yeah.
Oh my God, I agree.
If you don't have a planner, those tables might be disastrous. Now you're cleaning up at 11 o'clock at the end of your
Mhm.
event.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Switching
I-
gears a little bit, what are you seeing for any new trends with wedding planning and things people doing at wedding days?
Oh, yeah. Great topic. We've had a lot of this conversation in the main wedding network, which is our vendor networking group that we all
Which
belong
is
to.
awesome.
Bright, beautiful, bright colors. So I'm really excited about what fall weddings will look like this fall, this autumn, this spring, this season.
Mhm.
Bright florals. The other
Mason jars.
Stop it, Kim. Stop. I will say bud vases aren't going anywhere, and it's okay. They're beautiful and they look great
What?
on long 8-foot tables.
Bud vases.
With the single blooms on the
Oh,
table.
It's just the most
I didn't know that's
economical
what
way
they
to
were
do
called.
flowers.
Well, and it's still so pretty. And you
It's
can
still so pretty.
do, those big, beautiful blooms. You can do little pieces of these wispy, organic looking thing. It's beautiful. It's lovely. So that's not going anywhere. On our bar end of things, espresso martinis or martini bars are all the rage, which
Yeah.
I'm really excited
Ooh.
about. So that can really elevate your event.
Yeah.
So maybe
love
not
good-
so much signature cocktails, but like the espresso martini towers instead of a champagne tower. So couples are getting really fun with the martinis.
Mhm.
I don't
And the
understand
glasses are
espresso.
still stackable, so that's fun.
Yeah.
It's just
Espresso
hard to
martinis,
it's hard
isn't
to
that
walk
coffee?
around with those though. Like, I don't an espresso bar is great. Like, at dessert time, cake's cut. We put a little sign on the bar that says "Now serving espresso martinis" as a surprise to the guests, which I
That's
love.
so fun.
I love surprising people.
Yeah.
But it's a martini glass. At that time of night, do you want to be walking around with a martini glass?
Yeah.
So I often
Yeah.
recommend like a different kind of glass for it. Like,
Yeah.
let's serve them, but let's give them a glass that they're not going to be sloshing on
I
Aunt Betty
love
at,
those
at 9
glasses,
o'clock at
though.
night.
If I
I
just
know
had
they're so
water in one of
classy.
the glasses.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. Like they're
The
really
other
hard.
thing we're seeing that we love is iced coffee instead of just
Yes.
hot coffee
Mhm.
being served with dessert, which is kind of
Iced
fun.
coffee.
So you're making more of a coffee station out of things.
Mhm.
Um, and then it's not just Uncle Joe that's begging you for a cup of coffee and only one person drinks it.
Right.
So that's
That
fun.
I know
that Uncle Joe, my God.
one of the things I'm seeing over the past couple of years, which has changed a little bit, is that not pairing couples in introductions anymore. The awkward dance in as the couple. Now they're doing a lot. All the girls will come in and dance together, and then all the guys will come in and dance together.
Or they
Which
wait
Yeah.
on
I
one.
love.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no more awkwardness about you don't know the person. What are we gonna do when we walk in? And they're uncomfortable, especially if they're shy.
Yeah.
Then it's just
The
nice to
fish
have
hook
all
is
the
like
girls.
not happening as much anymore. Right.
Oh my
So
God. Yeah.
you don't need to do that. If it's all the girls, they're gonna come in ramping up, and the bride can pick and surprise them with the song, and then the guys go after because the guys have got to be like, you need to beat the girls. Like, see what
Yep.
they just did? You need
Right.
to outdo them. And that was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
then that gets
yeah.
them pumped up.
I will say
So
that's harder to photograph when there's just a whole bunch of
They're
people
moving. Yeah, they're moving.
back
And you
back.
always tell people too. So if you're doing that big wedding party introduction, and a lot of couples are just opting for themselves to be brought
yes,
in and parent, so we'll just ask the wedding party and parents to kind of like circle the dance floor, embrace them in love. So they're not just feeling like awkwardly dancing up there with everyone staring at them, but they're really being embraced and and that makes for a little sweet photo op. So Kim can like take the photo without them moving and doing crazy shots and things.
Yeah. Thanks.
that's true. What else is going on
I have a
in
question though.
trends?
I
Oh,
have
go ahead.
I
Go
kind
ahead,
of
Kim.
might know the answer to this. Not sure. What is the most outrageous thing that's happened to one of your weddings? Um,
Kim, you
you
do know
know,
the answer to this.
is that it?
That was pretty outrageous.
Yeah.
You share.
So I had okay, it wasn't my fault, but I told
You did tell them to get on the
I
dock.
told them to get on the dock, which is usually fine, but it collapsed. The dock
It
collapsed.
sure did.
And everybody fell, not everybody.
Mostly the men. I mean, if it was going to happen, it happened so perfectly because men's pants can dry. Silk gowns and women's dresses and bride dresses don't really come out of the water the same as men's khakis
Well,
do.
you had a couple bridesmaids that fell in the water.
Yeah.
Christina had to blow dry everybody's clothes.
And I hope you
Roger.
learned from that, Kim, that docks cannot hold that many people.
But you
Well,
normally
and it was a
can.
family
Normally.
doc, and maybe had just gone in for the season. But that's why I do love a first look. Like if people are hemming and hawing about should we do it or not, I am pro first look. So I will.
Oh my God, 100%. I actually created a 10 reasons to have a first look sheet that I send my couples. Like,
I love
because
it.
most of the time, and I'll share it with you if you want.
Yeah.
It's just because most of the time people want them. They get to enjoy cocktail hour, which
Let's
I
put it
think is
on the main wedding network blog page.
that's a great idea. I'll share it with you.
Yeah.
Because that's the best part of the day is cocktail hour. And all
Yeah.
these people are missing it when they're doing photos that are rushed. Like those
Yep.
are two negatives to
Or
not
we're
doing
chasing
more.
after people because they told their family to be available, but then they are at cocktail hour.
They want to
enjoying
drink.
the shrimp bar. Yeah. So
They don't want to hang out for pictures when the bar is open. I
yeah.
mean, there's just so many amazing reasons to have one. And once in a while, I'll have a couple that's like on the fence and I'll share that and I'll share my experience. So like, oh my God, we didn't even think of all those things. Like, again, it's education. They're like, oh yeah, let's do that. Or sometimes I'll have like a groom that will say, I really don't want to see her. I'm like, but,
All
and
the
I get
time.
the special look that the feeling that you want. I know that feeling.
But they'll
I go,
get
but
it with the
you get
first
it
look.
twice.
Yeah. Yeah.
With doing a first
We
look, you get
sometimes
that
too
feeling
will like if
twice.
they do have a train, we won't put that on for the
I was
first
just
look,
gonna
but
say that. Yeah.
yeah, but then we do for the walk
For
down.
the
Yeah.
aisle.
I'm like
Yeah.
when she comes around that corner with her dad on her arm and the guests rise and the music comes up, you're
It
gonna
still
get
makes them
goosebumps. You're
cry.
gonna get tears. She's coming up that aisle to marry you. Like it is so special. So you're not gonna lose that by
Yeah.
seeing her early. You're still gonna get those
Yeah.
feels, and then you get to do it twice. So it's double special.
We had,
Wow.
talk about outrageous on a different side of the spectrum. We had a groom waiting for his bride to walk down, and she turns the corner and he starts crying, and the emotion that he was feeling, and the mom, who is slightly obsessed with her son, stood up and hugged him.
In the middle of the aisle?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know if I
Oh,
like
Moms,
that's
that.
don't
so
do that, please.
sweet.
Don't do that.
It was
Yeah.
sweet, but don't do that. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you just lost the photographer's pictures.
Yeah. And that moment for the bride and the groom, it wasn't mom's moment, unfortunately, at that time. But
That's
we'll find you other moments, mom. It's
right.
not the time when the bride's walking down the aisle.
Christina,
Yeah.
how do you feel about dogs and children? Not that they're in the same category, but how do you feel
No,
Well,
they
about
I
are.
don't know. My dog loving friends
they
and me who have
They're
a
my
family,
kids.
we joke. I'm like, you love my kids about as much as I love your dogs, right? Like, just because
Yeah.
I have kids doesn't mean everyone wants to be around them. Um, I don't know. I might lose friends this way, but I think it's really sweet when their pets are in the ceremony, because I have seen some really fun moments with the bow ties and the florals and the dogs. And again, I get that they're their fur babies, but then I'm 100% pro handler. Like, you have to have someone coming
Yes.
to the wedding afterwards, so that doggy is not sniffing off the tables or begging for food, or like, you have to like allow it to happen and then move on with your
Mhm.
event without doggies.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about animals, and I feel somewhat the same about children. I think when I get invited to a wedding, which I haven't in a long time, because I think my friends think I'll judge their wedding, but
Or
when I
you're
was
busy, you're
invited
working.
to weddings, and we had children, like, I really enjoyed when children weren't allowed. It allowed me to dress up. It allows me to flirt with my husband, to feel really pretty, and
Date
have
night. It's
a
date night.
night. Yeah, 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 yeah. So, there's babysitting services that will go to pretty much anywhere if you want your friends' children's there, because they have to be. Bring Grammy with you and have her stay in the hotel and babysit. Just
Grammy
know
can't go to the wedding then.
Grammy is not friends with the couple. It's
A different
just
Grammy.
yeah, 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 yeah. I'm being
Even
invited to a wedding and I'm bringing my mom. She can watch my kids.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
or even at the property, if there's many houses and locations, like I'll hire a sitter for my couples. Like, I've
Yeah,
got 2 or 3 sitters. I've got two or three dog sitters that I
exactly.
will say, you need something like that, I have that. We'll go to the groom's house. It's a big living room, the kids can play, there's a TV over there, you can put on
Yeah,
a
they
movie.
order chicken nuggets or pizza and everyone's happy.
I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly, because I
I
don't,
do
at
love
weddings, like, having people drinking and tripping over kids is unsafe.
Yeah. Yep. Or
I do
dogs.
love photographing flower girls in the big wedding party and maybe
Yeah,
the
I
bride and
think the
flower girls,
ceremony.
but I do not like them running around the reception and playing with everything. I don't know.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah, I know. We might
hard to
lose
rein
friends.
them in at the reception. They want to dance. They want to run
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. I will say also with children though, we have a lot of we work with a lot of couples that have bonus children, or they're going to become a step parent, or children already maybe in
Oh
pre
yeah,
getting married.
I know what you're gonna say.
And one of the sweetest things I've seen is when the couple will do a vow for the
Yeah,
children
Oh my God,
also.
yes, I've
I
had that too.
know. I
Yeah,
do love
it's
that.
really, really sweet. I have stepchildren and they were very young when we got married. And looking back, hindsight, I wish we would have done that. Like, of course, my husband did vows for each other, but I would have loved to have done vows for,
I know. I
my
think that
stepchildren.
too.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
I would have bawled my eyes out.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I like that.
yeah,
Let's make
Nice.
it a trend.
I
yeah.
agree.
Really.
Let's really quickly, let's talk about gratuity. As a wedding planner, do you talk to your couples about gratuity? And I mean, we go through all the details. Like, I feel like that's totally part of the planning conversation. I know it is for me. How do you feel about having that conversation and being upfront
Yeah,
with your clients on what to do, what not to do? I have a tipping guide that I
yeah.
give my
I love
couples.
it. Yep. No, great question. So we have a bunch of information that goes out about 30 days prior. 30 days prior to your wedding, A, I want to be paid. B, vendor schedules need to go out.
Yeah.
And all of those kind of behind the scene information pieces go out too. So the tipping guide, and I'm talking anywhere from your lighting person to your floral designer, who's, there hours and hours setting up, to the boat captain that's bringing you over, your photography, of course, DJ, band. So we list everything possible. And then we always say to just make sure, check in with your contracts. Like a lot of the bus companies will already have a gratuity, or the catering
Caterer always
company.
does too.
Yeah. The other thing we say, kind of a fun tip, is that service charge is not a gratuity. So again, just educating them, They want to send out gratuities. They just don't necessarily maybe always think about it, or how much are they supposed to do? They don't want to offend, but they don't want to like be aggressive either.
Yeah,
So,
and I always say you want to make everybody should be happy. Like, what do you think will
yeah,
make somebody happy? But what also makes you happy? Like, and
yeah.
it's something that you budget into your wedding budget.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
we do. We'll
it's
allocate that line right from the beginning. Again, that first conversation, I suggested that we have the budget
and
chat.
I,
We're talking gratuities.
yeah, I saw a post recently on one of the pages about, I have a question about gratuity. Who do I tip it? Every single vendor said, "Oh, it's not expected, not expected. I don't want to tip. You pay me enough." I was
Yeah.
like, but I bet you would love to get one. Like, you've
Yeah.
worked really hard on your day. Like,
Yeah.
it's like going to a restaurant and getting superior service and not leaving a tip for your
Well,
server.
because there's that kind of unwritten rule that the owner of the business shouldn't be tipped.
Right. And we do in our main community, right? Like we're all small business. There's no Walmart of our wedding industry in Maine. We're all small baby businesses. And even the ones that have a team, self-included, like we're small. Like we are, you know, working our tails off every year. And, I know some owners who don't pay themselves because they want to keep that year-long employee just to keep them through the next season. So,
Mhm.
I think that used to come from like your hairdresser owns the salon and she cuts your hair. She doesn't need, don't tip her. She owns the place. That is not the case here. Like we are small business owners, and the owners are working.
We've got so much overhead. Like, I pay an assistant out of my pocket. I don't
Yeah.
charge the couple for the assistant.
Yep.
So like that
Part
comes
of
out
the
of my,
package. Yeah.
yeah, it's part of the package. So like that's money out of my pocket. It doesn't affect them.
Yep.
But that person, everybody, and I go through the list, and when I get my, as a planner, I get my folder when I first meet with them, when they check into the property, and they give me all their thank you cards. Like, make them out 2 weeks in advance.
Yep.
Down, it was as a couple, have a glass of wine, have a beer, write out your thoughtful thank you cards. Like, don't just put, "Hey, thanks for coming and working our day." Like, for somebody that's put in 1,000 hours,
Yeah.
or even 48 hours editing photos, like one sentence thank you cards are like, I mean, I guess you wrote one, which is great, but like, make it thoughtful. Like, this is your wedding day. Like, how much thought are you putting into your day? We're going to put the same. Your professional vendors are going to put the same love and care into your day and make sure it's phenomenal. Or maybe you don't have the time to do it beforehand because you forgot about it. You're like, at least you're writing something and giving them something. Follow up with a letter.
I love getting those photos on a card at the end, like a month later, maybe, and just seeing
yes, if I often get letters in the mail from my couples, and sometimes even with another tip, because they're like, people are still talking about our wedding 3 months later. Like, you were phenomenal.
Good about what you're doing.
I'm like, oh my God, I was noticed. Like, my time mattered, and people recognized it. So I think that's a big conversation that people are not having, and they should be having it, because it's important.
Well, and it's funny too. We will send out to our couples about a week or two, maybe since they've been home from their honeymoon. Hey, if we met or exceeded your expectation, a Google review. Like, I would take a Google review over money, to be honest, because again, that's getting me my next couple. That's getting, that's showing the couple that I have worked with that they valued us, that we did meet or exceed their expectations. And I joke and I say, and if we didn't, please don't leave a review, but please call me. Like, let's talk. Like, how could we have, raised the bar for you?
Because you're a small business owner, and those negative things sometimes will just crush you, and it breaks your heart. Like, I've had things that just didn't. Yeah, it's really hard when you get that and people didn't give you a chance to fix it.
Yeah. And we too, we vet our couples as much as they're vetting us, or vetting, I guess is the word, not betting. But sometimes I'm sorry, there's crazies out there, and I don't want them, but sometimes they do slip through the cracks.
Sometimes they slip through. I have a question, probably just the last one, or if you can ask the last one, Misty. But what is the most, how did I have this worded? Is the barn wedding trend still going strong? Like, what is the most requested venue type that you work at? Is it
Yeah.
usually because there are a lot of is it blank
There's a
slate
lot of
venue?
barns. I will say they're not popping up as much as they were. And I want to say that the ones that have great reputations, Coolidge Family Farm, Marion Maid Farm, um, you know,
Are here to stay.
Well Farm. So a lot of
1774.
yeah, 1774. There's so many just
I love
lovely,
Mary Ann.
lovely. But what we
Me
are
too.
finding is that they're using the property and there may be a barn on site, but often our couples are also renting the tent and they're opting to do dinner and dancing in the tent. So it's kind of like a photo op. It's kind of maybe where they do a cocktail hour. It's a great ceremony weather backup, but they're not using the barn for dinner and dancing like they used to.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, my barn holds 200, but I had a couple that was 80 people. They're like, no, we just really want to have the barn wide open for other things for inclement weather. And so they rented a tent and tables and chairs outside
yeah,
for their dinner. And then they
yeah.
came back inside for dancing. They just wanted to have the eating outside. And it was a beautiful, in the summer, like, why not eat
Yeah.
outside? I think that's the best when people
They
want to
ate?
eat outside.
Oh, they ate in the tent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they
Well,
did ceremony was inside, cocktail hour, they went out for dinner, and then they came back in for dancing. They just didn't want to have the tables in the barn. They wanted it wide open.
yeah. Like even Flanagan Farm. I mean, that's a beautiful, huge, holds again a ton of guests. And they have tents on site all the time. The other thing that I'll say about we have a lot of clients, as most of us, our clients come from out of state, right? We have it's a destination state that we plan weddings in, which is amazing. But we're not California. The likelihood of being able to get married under the bistro lights, al fresco style, like August and September, great, but it's also some of the nights are cooler, right? So we have to plan on backups. So if our couples are really, really wanting that outside al fresco area, we'll talk about lighting outside and doing the cafe lighting and hiring a lighting company. But then again, that barn is a great backup if we're not going to be able to do that outside dining that they were hoping to have. And then go back inside for the barn for music, because then maybe you can play music a little bit louder later. So that's been a big.
Awesome.
Do you plan are you the planner for very many resort weddings?
We do, yep, we do. So again, fortunately, we have a team. So we tend to have a couple planners that are more resort type planners, and it's it not for any other reason other than I started as a tented outside kind of planner. That's where my specialty is. We have again some amazing planners that Spruce Point Inn, we're there a ton. New Wagon, Booth Bay, again, we're there a ton. And so it's great. So we can focus on the front of the house, where then the venue can really focus on behind the scenes, getting food out, food quality, timing of that. And then we're there again, scheduling and going through the motions, but then we're working together as a team to really benefit the client. So there's some venues that they just do it so well in resort types that even if clients call me, I'm like, do you need us? Like they do a really great job.
Maybe
and so
not for
that's a
day of.
combination. Yeah. Which
Do
again,
you have time for one more question? I know you've got
one
to
more.
do
Yeah,
kid
I have
duty.
kids that are looking at me like, come on, boss bitch, mom, we gotta go.
Yeah. One last question. I always like to talk about pricing. I think pricing is really important. What's the average, what's a good price for a planner, like low end to high end? Like what should people expect?
Yeah. Oh goodness, great question. And pricing, oh, we know, right? In the industry, it's that question.
Range.
I would say I mean, a day of should absolutely start at least 3,500.
I was
If
asked to do a day of coordinating and I'm doing it for $500. Just as
Kim.
just a
I
know
mean, I
this
say
person.
that I started off at $50 an hour. I could have been there for 30 hours or gave you 30 hours and I charged $50 an hour. And that's how I started. So I'm not saying just out of the gate here, you should be charging that, but you get what you pay for, and again, our weddings
And
are
they're paying
probably
for more than one planner. More than one
what?
it's going to be more than just you.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, you get two coordinators when we show up. You don't just get one. So both coordinators are being paid. But then also as far as a full service, we start at 10, and I know I'm not the most expensive. I'm not the least expensive. I keep hearing I need to raise my rates, but that's what makes me sleep at night, is knowing that I feel good about that starting point. I know other planners, again, higher budgets, maybe more of the luxury, that is not where they're starting. And again, it's knowing your budget. What I say to new couples coming in is 10%. No one should really be taking more than 10% of your budget other than food and booze. That's about 35-40% of your budget. Other than that, you do not want to really go heavy in one way or the other, because you're going to not have enough money for everything.
Well,
And so,
venues in there too. I think venue, food, and booze.
fair. Yep, I agree with that. Absolutely. But again, you don't want to, go so over on a venue that then you don't have any money to do anything else. So your auxiliary vendors, let's stick around 10%. And I think there's enough to go around.
Also, real quick, venue van. I love that.
Venue
Okay.
van. I know. I
For our
think that's
kids,
a whole nother.
wait.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Well, we can have a whole
different.
other issue on
Right.
other episode on that, because I think that's a really cool
Yeah.
topic.
I love it.
So, well,
Yeah,
Christina,
I'll
thank
put
you
my
so
overalls on in my conductor hat and we can talk about venue van. I love it.
Yeah. But thank you for being with us today.
Thank
We
you,
appreciate you
ladies.
so much.
I
Again,
appreciate
Misty
you.
Coolidge, Coolidge Family Farm and Mixologist, Kim Chapman Dion Photography, Christina Slocum, Purple Orchid Weddings and Event Planning, and Studio Bar and Venue Van. But thank you for being here. We love you to pieces.
Thank you. Love you,
And everybody
ladies.
else, thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.